Hi, my name's SS Flanker, and in this video I'm going to be showing a particular user named Alex21788 on how he can improve this map. I've decided to make this kind of video log slash guide slash tutorial public so other people can benefit from it, and apart from that, that's about it. Alright, so I'm going to do a quick overview of the map for those who don't know what the map looks like. It's nothing particularly special. I have it somewhere here. There it is. Alright, so the map's name is Kick-Ass Canyon. I've already pre-edited this beforehand, just removing errors and such. And some of the materials are screwed up for some reason, but just ignore that. If we kind of isolate this and apply gray shader material, and sort of get an idea of what we're looking at. So essentially it's just some ripped structures from a few vanilla Halo maps attached to this kind of boring kind of box. And I did say to Alex that I'd go ahead and give him my interpretation of how I would make a map like this, and I'd also, show him how I went about and did the things that I did. So I don't have a pre-baked example. I don't have, something else cooking in the oven which I could just bring out and show you this is what it's going to look like in the end. This is all going to be real time, so I guess there are going to be a lot of mistakes, but let's get started. So I'm going to keep this file. I'm just going to save this to my desktop. Just name it Kick-Ass Canyon. And I'll name this 01. And I'm just going to toggle edged faces by hitting F4. And this isn't much of a tutorial, but I do feel that I should go ahead and just call out some of the stuff that I'm doing. So at the moment I'm just thinking of getting rid of this box because I don't want it anymore. So actually let's go ahead and delete some of the objects in the scene and get rid of my portals which I made, get rid of the frame because I can remake that later on. I'll get rid of the base portal, the exact portals as well. And in my front view, let's go ahead and rotate the model. I'm going to hit A to initiate angle snaps, so I can snap this at 5-degree increments. I'm just going to rotate it minus 90 on the Z-axis. And then if I hit F on my keyboard, that should take me to my front view. Let's hit G to get rid of that grid. And in edit poly mode, I'm going to hit 4 to bring up polygon selection. Just going to drag a selection box over here. Hit P to go into my perspective view and just see what I've got selected, and that's fine. It's most of the box. Then I'm just going to hit delete. I'm going to drag a selection box over here, and I'm going to drag another one by control clicking, and then just delete that. And I'm going to select this polygon and hit Z to zoom in on it, and then I'm going to select as much of it as I can and delete it. Again, for selecting multiple objects, first select one polygon, then hit Control and then click on another polygon to add it to your selection, or create multiple selections. I think it's adding, not creating multiple, because that would imply that you've got different groups of selections when we're just adding to one singular selection. Anyways, alright, so that structure looks fine now. Grab that and that. I'm toggling X-ray mode, which allows you to see through your object, and I'm doing that by hitting Alt and X. That just lets me know that I'm not, deleting anything I shouldn't be deleting, and I also, by the way, have ignore backfacing turned off because we don't need that on for now. And yeah, I'm just going to hit delete, and I'm not going to even bother with that side, to be honest. What I'll do here is, since my pivot is it centered on? Well, it used to be centered, but now it isn't. But hang on, if we bring that structure back and bring what we deleted back there. So if we go and effect pivot only, center it to our object. Yeah, the z-axis is the only thing that's going to move. Okay, so that's fine. So since my axis is centered roughly, that means that I can kind of get rid of this here. First of all, delete what I have here. By the way, it's a good idea to hit Q on your keyboard to bring up just the select object mode. This will just allow you to select objects without, moving them, unless you want to move them, in which case you would hit W to bring up the select and move, whereas this is just select tool. And that's useful if you don't, if you're making really quick selections and you're worried you might move something, like I just did there. That happens a lot. And basically the select object mode just stops you from doing that, which is pretty helpful. So as I was saying, I'm going to grab these two elements and detach them as their own object, but since they're using the pivot point from the object which I've detached them from, I can simply just shift and rotate them 180 degrees, and I've instantly copied them. I'm going to leave them there for reference, just so I know how big my map or the landscape should be. But apart from that, I'm just going to go ahead and attach that back into my what's going on? Come on, 3ds Max, come back to me. Come back to me. Oh, well, that was weird. I'm not sure why that happened. I'm gonna go ahead and reset the X form for this object here. Oh, it's really weird. Alright, so there we go. It's looking fine now. I literally have no idea what happened there. Crazy. Alright, so I've just attached those two objects back to this object, so everything is one whole now. I'm going to select everything and clear all smoothing groups. Oh, they are. So, what's wrong with everything? There we go. I'll bring back my normals because they were screwed up, as you can see there. So just apply a normal modifier, don't flip the normals. Yeah, actually yes, flip the normals, then convert them to inevitable poly, and there we go. Everything is as it should be. Okay, so this is pretty much just acting as a reference. I will incorporate them into my landscape later on, but as of now they really are just there so I can make sure that, I'm not making my cliffs and my floor too big. Okay, so now what I'm going to be making here is sort of the exterior sort of cliff wall type border for the map. and I don't have any preconceived ideas, as I mentioned before. I'm just going to go ahead and go with the flow with this. Before I do anything else, I'm going to hit M, bring up my material editor, go to utilities, reset my material editor slots. I'm going to grab my first square shaded material, changes the diffuse to like a soft turquoisey, dark bluish, something like that. The red, green, blue value is 44, 70, and 76. Just put those in and you should get the exact same color that I have. I'm going to change my specular color to pure white and set my specular level to 69 because we all love that number. And I'm going to cap the amount of specular that I have there by upping the gloss to 21. I'm going to select my mesh and assign my material to that selection. Usually specular is only good for creating high poly objects, but I just like to have it on, to be honest. And it does give it a little bit of highlight to our objects. Anyways, I'm going to hit T, bring up my top view, and I'm going to drag out a simple plane or any other object, doesn't matter. Convert it to an editable poly, go into element mode, hit Ctrl A, hit delete. In the freeform panel, under your graphite modeling tools, I'm going to go to poly draw. Oh, sorry, I think it's paint deform. Poly draw strips. Alright, and all the settings should be default. And strips basically allows you to create lots of strips, hence the name. And this is particularly useful because if you pay attention to what we're creating, we're literally just drawing the borders of our map, which is far easier than actually modeling and placing vertices and and edges in certain positions to get the effect that we want. We can literally just draw it in and delete any of the excess. So that's why I really like that tool. One day I was just really just messing around with 3ds Max, trying to find cool and interesting tools, and most of the time I wasn't getting anything until I jumped into the freeform tools, which I've never really noticed before. All of these 4 sections, except for the modeling section, were really alien to me, and I never really bothered checking them out until, I don't know, about a couple of months ago. So yeah. Alright, so with strips selected, I'm just going to go ahead and roughly block out sort of what I want my map to resemble. And don't be frustrated if if you end up doing this a few times. One thing I would say is you want to really try and avoid having flat portions like this. Always try and maintain some sort of curvature or some sort of variation to that perimeter of the shape. You really don't want to be concentrating on these polygons. You just want to be focusing on the edge here, either the inner edge or the outer edge, whichever one you're going to use. So I don't really like that, so I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to go back. Oh, by the way, if you go into Customize Preferences, you'll notice I've set my scene undo levels to 500, sorry, which is the maximum. Be advised though that this does use quite a bit of RAM, so if your computer doesn't have that much RAM, I'd suggest putting up to 250. But I'm always making mistakes and stuff like that, so having my scene undo levels to up to like I can redo my scene up to around 500 levels is super helpful in case I really fuck up somewhere and I need to go back. And I also, sorry, have, I believe, going to files, I've enabled auto backup. 20 is a little much, but really over pedantic about losing the files and stuff like that. And I have a backup interval of 2 minutes. So every 2 minutes, 3ds Max will auto save the scene that I have. So if it crashes, I have, as long as I haven't made any significant changes within 2 minutes, I can simply open up Max again and go into my AutoBack directory and continue on from there. Anyways, so let's try this again. Ah, I made a flat portion there, I didn't mean to do that. And we're off screen at the moment, I apologize. I want it to be bigger than that. So yeah, that looks okay. This is ideally going to be a medium sized map. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That's not too bad. All right. So jumping back into our perspective view. Oh, I've screwed up here. So I'm just going to hit 1 on my keyboard. Go into vertex mode. Hit Z to zoom in on that to zoom in on that vertex. And I'm just going to push it out, sort of even it out. And here I'm just going to grab those two, and I think, oh, all my menus are screwed up. Okay, and collapsing them I don't think is going to work. Oh yes, it does. Select those two verts and collapse them. I have another one of these weirdo errors here, so I'm just going to go ahead and align those verts so they're matching a little bit better. And yeah, I still have a lot of flat pieces here. But anyway, to show you what the whole point of this is, the whole reason that we've done this is if we go into border mode and we select the inside border or the outside border. I'm going to select the outside border actually. And if we hold shift and drag on the Z axis, you'll notice that we've created, in essence, a really basic form of cliffs or walls or whatever you want to call it. The problem here is because we have so many steps in these strips, in this sort of strip that we created, a step is defined by this edge. So this edge I would classify it as a strip, or you could call it a loop. Because we have so many loops here, a lot of them are really unneeded, and I haven't really figured out a way of how to reduce this. If anyone knows, please tell me. May have something to do with angle. I have no idea. Anyways, I'm not going to mess around with it. But yeah, so this can be really tedious and quite annoying, but what I end up having to do is selecting every other edge and then just hitting Control backspace. Whoops, that wasn't right. So I'll just select every other edge that I have here, and then what I'll do is I'll hit Control backspace, so that will delete the edge and the vertices associated with those edges. And then we have sort of lower polygon count. Even then we still have edges which aren't doing much, and what I mean by that is verts or edges which aren't really contributing to the shape. So if it was like that, it's maintaining a curve, so that would be okay, but it's not doing that at the moment, so you're gonna have to do a little bit of manual labor here. So what I'm going to do is continue just selecting every other edge, and I'm going to go ahead and pause because I really don't think you want to watch me do this for the whole I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes it's going to take me to do this. But just to recap, what I'm doing is selecting one edge, skipping an edge, and then selecting the next edge. And I'm clicking with my left mouse button, then I'm control clicking to select another edge. And then once I'm done, and I've gone back to the start, and I'm just going to hit Control backspace. Okay, so I'm going to pause and I'll be right back. or I may even speed up the video. Now I'll pause. Okay, so I'm back. Selected all the sort of useless edges. I'm going to hit Control and Backspace now. And oops, sort that out. Let's hit Z, zoom in on that. Maybe relax that curve slightly. That looks a bit better. Now you'll be looking at this and you'll probably be thinking, well, I still have a lot of wastage, to be honest. Like, these verts here aren't really doing much. So you may want to go ahead and, instead of deleting every other edge, just look for edges which really aren't contributing to the shape in any way at all, and just deleting them. And you'll end up with long gaps like this, but that's okay because you can grab a neighboring edge or a neighboring group of verts and, you know, push them into position. This, I would say, is probably one of the suckiest parts of this process, but it certainly beats. Well, it's going to come into its own later on, so don't kind of, you know, go feel, oh my god, I have to do all this tedious fiddling and whatnot, because it's going to help you in the long run. I'm going to get rid of that and push that edge in there, like so. And that's not really doing anything. Neither is that, or that, or that. And we have a little bit of an error here, which I'll correct. That's not doing much. That's not doing much. That's not doing much at all. That's not really doing anything. Neither is that, or that, or that, or that, or that. And that's not really helpful to me, or indeed that as well. We'll grab you, and I think we're good. So I'm going to try and bring some variation to, you know, these inevitable long kind of edges which we have here. I'm going to try and break up those by moving inverts into, you know, different places, just really playing around more than anything. Just try and create some kind of curve. Well, try and maintain the aesthetic look of, you know, the shape which you have here, whatever it is, but still try and make use of those, you know, these excess pieces which we have here. And always get rid of, you know, all the useless geometry. Don't leave that in, because it's just going to cause problems for you later. And I probably should pause it, but I'm not going to. I'll cut that in a little bit too far, so I'm going to grab this vert and pull it out. Grab this vert, move it along, and that should be okay. Pull you out slightly. And you'll notice that I'm not really concerned about the continuity of the thickness of these polygons, and that's because I'm either going to end up using just this edge here or just this edge here. I'm not going to be using these polygons at all. You'll see me selecting two verts here, And the only reason I'm doing that is because I haven't yet made up my mind whether I'm going to be using this edge exclusively or this edge. So I'm selecting both of the vertices associated with those two edges and moving them in tandem. So when I do make my mind up, I don't have, one edge, one vert on the edge which I don't want to keep, which is sorted, and one on one edge which is flat, which is the one that I want to keep, if that makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. As of now, I'm probably going to be using the inside edge. So I'm going to be extruding from there. Alright, I think that's enough. So I'm going to hit 2 on my keyboard. And since we're working in quads, everything here is a 4-sided polygon. I just simply have to double click this edge and that will select the whole loop. Or we could go into border mode and do the same. That's probably slightly quicker and requires a little less energy. And all I'm going to do here is just shift drag on the Z and push it upwards. Doesn't matter how much, because we're just using this to get a shape. And then I'm going to hit 4 on my keyboard, select any polygon on this sort of this leftover piece here, doesn't matter where you select, and then I'm going to shift and click on the polygon next to it, either on the right or the left, and that'll select the whole loop of those polygons, and I'm just going to hit delete because we don't need those. Okay, so this is going to be the basis of our clips, or our walls, and we're going to be doing a lot to change this up, but for now, since you've probably never tried this method before, I suggest just following on what I'm doing, and then once you've watched this tutorial maybe once or twice or maybe in 3 times, you can go ahead and start to make your own little changes wherever you feel comfortable. And you know what, I'm actually going to pause here and pick this up in a couple of minutes after I've found a glass of water. So I'm going to stop this tutorial and we'll continue in part 2. Now, before I go, actually, it makes sense to save. And see you in part 2.